Hey-o. I hope to see you tonight. That was the voice of Stephen Curry, NBA basketball player. He was my partner on this project, one of our partners on this project, and I hope you come. A new study just came out last month. 1 in 4 American adults cannot read at basic levels or cannot read at all. That's because 1 in 3 fourth graders in America today cannot read above a basic level. And if you don't learn to read by 4th grade, you never will, statistically. You never will. And as you guys sit here in this place of learning, where every day words are put in front of you, and we don't even realize the gift, the privilege, the blessing, that those words just flow into our mind. They just flow in there, in the great books. It just flows. That's enough of that. I'm a local kid. I grew up in this town. My dad worked across the street. One of my first dates was a block down Alder at a little burger place down there. I grew up riding my bike through this campus. Went to church a stone's throw over there. Lord bless this time. All right, I want to start by taking a little bit of a risk. You guys up for taking a little bit of a risk? Quick one, okay. What I want you to do is I just want you to turn in your seats. Don't move your seat, but just kind of shimmy so you can kind of see the room. Like you guys are going to have the hardest time because you have to like turn around kind of backwards. But look where you can kind of see your fellow students. Let's do this quickly. And here's what I wanted you to do, and I'm going to play along. I'm in with you. If I'm going to say something, and if it's true of you, I just want you to raise your hand. FYI, if it is true of you and you don't want to raise your hand, don't raise your hand. You're not lying. It's your story. You tell your story the way you want to tell it. But let's just do this. Let's just try this. Because I want you guys to see that this thing called life, we don't walk it alone. First, I feel lonely sometimes. Look around. See your fellow students. Great. Thank you. I have struggles and regrets that I just can't shake. Anybody? Thank you. I feel dumb. It's okay. I have my whole life. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, and I'm not sure I'm going to make it. I doubt if God is there or if anyone is thinking about me. Anybody? It's okay. Sometimes I just need some help. Thank you. Thanks for your courage. All right. That was cool. All right. I assume you guys remember COVID. I think I spent so much time trying to forget it. And I forget how horrible it was. Being locked in my house for days at a time, not being able to go anywhere. When I did go places, I had to wear a mask. People afraid of each other all the time. So one of the ways I would cope with COVID is I would go on these long walks in Portland. I live in Portland, I live in North Portland. And so I went for this long walk one day, right at the peak of COVID, when everyone was like maximum freaked out. You guys remember, just like scared of each other all the time, like washing their food at home, like weird. So I went for this long walk. I went about an 8-mile walk on the west side of the Willamette River. And I walked all the way down past PSU, turned around, came up through the waterfront park, through that park there. As I'm walking along, every time you see somebody, I'm walking without a mask, got my earbuds in, I'm listening to music. It's a day like today, super crisp, blue skies, everyone's a little cold. But But we're all out, and none of us have masks on, but every time we would come to each other, we'd all like, and we'd like go like 20 feet around each other. But Portlanders are great. They're like friendly. Like as they're like completely avoiding you, they're waving and like being smiling, like, hi. So it's nice, you know. It was a nice day, and I was having a good experience. And as I was walking north back towards home, I decided I was going to cross the Broadway Bridge to get back to my house on the east side of the river, as opposed to the Steel Bridge, which I came over before. So in order to do that, I have to walk through Old Town and then weave through the Pearl to get over to the Broadway Bridge. So I weave down, and there's this little walking bridge that goes over the tracks down by Union Station, and I go over the walking bridge. As I get there, there's all this construction going on, and there's like all these barricades, and there's these guys in masks and hard hats, and they're telling me, go around, go around, go around. So I walk around, I'm going around this building, and they're like, go around, go around and then go to the post office, go that way, the old post office. So I walk around this building, right? I'm just walking, headphones in, I'm walking along, I'm having a good day, it's not COVID for me. And I turn the corner and I look up, cold day, shoulder to shoulder on both sides of the sidewalk are people who live outside for a whole block, shoulder to shoulder, and it's like a tunnel, it's like a gauntlet of like just human beings and like open sores and no one's wearing masks and just the whole thing and the smell and the whole thing, like the whole thing. And I'm in the middle of it, and all at once on instinct, I take a deep breath. And I bent down like this, and I just walked as fast as I could for a block, holding my breath, trying not to make eye contact. I hustle through. I'm like sweating. I'm scared to death. I get through to the other side, and I just run across the road. I don't even look for traffic. I get to the other side, and I exhale. I'm like, whoa, whoa. Patting myself on the back that I made it. Go walking. Go across the Broadway Bridge. Go home. Go upstairs to my study. I'm sitting in my study. I'm thinking about what had happened. And I realized that I treated human beings like they were a disease. My wife comes into my study and she's like, what's going on? I try to explain to her the story, but I'm sobbing so uncontrollably, like I can't even tell the story, like snot's running down my, I'm like, I treated human beings like a disease. Like, what's wrong with me? I'm 50 years old. I've been like a Christian author and whatever. My whole life, I study this stuff. I'm supposed to teach this stuff. We've had homeless people live in our home with us. And yet my soul is still so broken that I treat human beings like they're a disease. What's wrong with me? And I just cried, and I cried all day. I couldn't stop crying. I'm like, I've learned nothing. I've learned nothing. Okay, so a little closer to home. Last weekend, my wife and I have had a really hard month and a half. Her brother died, and that was really messy. We've had people in our community arrested. We've had people in our personal community put in mental institutions. We have people who are in bankruptcy. We have people who are going through divorce. Like, we're carrying a lot right now as a family. So last weekend, my wife is like, get out of here. You need some time alone. Go up to the mountain, pray, meditate, sit by the river, refill your soul. You are tired. So I'm like, okay, great idea. So I go up to the mountain for a few days. And what do? I sit in this little cabin next to the Zigzag River. And I act like a freaking 15-year-old for the whole weekend. I don't pray, I don't meditate, I don't sit by the river. I eat junk food, I drink, I watch bad movies, I sleep, and generally didn't take care of myself. And on the third day, I had this moment where I was like, God, what's wrong with me? This was last weekend. This wasn't 2020. This was last weekend. What's wrong with me? And a story came to me. I didn't see it coming. It felt like it came from outside of me. It was a memory. It was a memory. And here's the memory. A decade ago, I have 3 boys, 2 at Oregon State, 1 is a senior in high school. I decided to do a little experiment, as fathers will do. And my experiment was I wrote a note to each of my boys, and I put it in a bottle, and I buried the 3 bottles in the backyard. And promptly forgot about doing it, because it was just one of those, moments, you know? And then, a few years later, all my boys are my favorite. Like, if you sat me down, you asked me about Tristan, I'd tell you he's my favorite. You sat me down, asked me about Malachi, I'd tell you he's my favorite. Yeah, sat me down. My middle boy, Hudson, is my favorite. He is a walking tornado. I love him. So one day, I'm sitting on the front porch. It's dusk. He pulls in our Nissan Leaf. I don't even notice. I'm reading or something or watching a movie on the front porch. And my son walks up on the lawn, and he's carrying the back end of the car. And he drops it, this big piece of metal and plastic, in the front yard. And he's got that look on his face, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. So I said, all right, let's go. I walked down off the porch, we walk around the house, take him into the garage, and I said, grab a shovel. He has no idea what's going on. Grabs the shovel. He thinks he's in trouble, and I'm asking him to grab a shovel. Walk over to a place in the yard, said, dig. So he's digging, and he's like, dig, and then looks. Dig and looks. After a minute, the shovel hits something. He's like, what's that? I'm like, dig it out. So he digs out this bottle, takes off the cork, pulls out the letter, and the letter says, Hudson. If you're reading this letter, it means you wrecked the car. I want you to know I forgave you before it ever happened. I want you to know I love you. I want you to know that this is part of growing up. And I'm gonna walk with you through this. We're gonna learn from it, because this is part of becoming a man. Love, Baba. I don't tell you that story as a lesson in parenting. And I don't tell you that story even because I want you to think about my son, even though he's a great kid. I don't even know if he remembers that moment, honestly. God put this story in my head as I'm sitting in the cabin feeling sorry for myself. And I realized in that moment that all I want is for God to bury a bottle for me. Especially in these moments when I feel like a pile of steaming goose poop. And I'm saying, what's wrong with me? When am I going to grow up? Why do I still act like I'm 15? Why do I still treat people like disease? All right. When I was a boy, I was introduced to a chapter of the Bible. Now, I grew up going to church every, 6 times a week, whatever. I grew up. And most of the Bible was scary. Most of the Bible I didn't like, but there's this one chapter that I liked. when I was a little boy. And I liked it because the chapter of Psalm 23, you probably know it. I think I liked it for a few reasons. One, it kind of sounds like a children's story, so that was nice. I liked that. But what I really liked about it was, as a boy, I couldn't read. I went to 4 grade schools in this town, and those grade schools are walking distance or bicycling distance from where we are sitting right now. And I grew up unable to read. And back then, that was the 1970s, guys. Sorry, I'm outing myself. It was the 1970s. They didn't have words like dyslexia back then. They didn't know what to do about it. So for me, reading was a nightmare until like college. I think my brain caught up in college. But there were chapters in the Bible like Psalm 23. There it is, Psalm 23 that made sense to me. I hope you can read that. So look at this psalm, the short psalm, this children's story of a psalm. I have a question for you. Who is the active agent? Who is the active agent? Who's the one doing the stuff? Who's the one who is mentally and in their heart most engaged in what's happening? See, the psalm could say, the Lord is the shepherd, so I better not screw this up. Better find me some green pastures. Got to find me some still waters. Got to take care of myself. This world is scary. I'm afraid, and I'm alone. So I got to get some tools to protect myself. Got to build some high walls because there's enemies all around, and they're out to get me. So I'm going to build up those walls. I'm going to self-soothe. Because it's scarcity out there. Sure, goodness, mercy, those are things I want, but I'm going to have to go find them. And the only way out is death. But it doesn't say that. It says, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me to still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff that comfort me. You prepare us a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint me with oil. My cup runneth over. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. See, this is what I forgot in those moments, is that I'm not the primary character in my own spiritual story. The fact that I'm not particularly proud of my behavior in any given moment doesn't mean that my spiritual life is derailed, because I'm actually not in charge of it. I'm not the main character. I'm a secondary character in my own spiritual life. So on that COVID week, as I'm crying all night, kicking myself because I haven't grown up at all over all these years, I woke up on Monday and I started crying again. It really was weird. I don't know why it hit me so hard. But I cried for 4 days, off and on. I'm not going to say I'm blubbering all the time, but every time I thought about it, I'm like, what? I'm just going to quit. And on Thursday, my wife said, go for a walk. You like to walk. Just go. So I went for a walk. In fact, I'm on the phone on the walk talking with a buddy of mine who's a therapist, and I'm telling him about what a piece of poop I am. And he's like, dude, you really need to chill out and stop taking stuff so seriously. So I said, yeah, whatever, and I hung up. And I'm like, I'm going nowhere near the west side of the river and where that shameful thing happened. So I stick to the east side, and I walk from my house, and I'm walking, and I walk through the Rose Quarter where the Blazers play. It's empty. It's COVID. It's ghost town. All alone. I'm walking in between two parking structures, and I do this, right? I got my earbuds in. That's it. Just like that. I look over, and there's a black spot 50 feet away inside the parking garage. And I'm walking, and I do this. And for some reason, I'm like, black spot. I turn, I walk into the parking garage. I'm not making any of this up. There's a wallet on the ground, an old beat-up wallet. At first, I don't want to touch it. It's COVID. Everything is diseased. I'm not touching it. It looks kind of nasty. So I turn and I walk away, and then I think to myself, what would I do? What would I want someone else to do? Crap. Walk back, pick up the wallet, open it up. The first thing I look at is an infectious disease clinic card. I look inside, there's $3. Man's name on the card. I start to walk away. No, I go to put the wallet on like a wall. At least it's more visible now. I'm a good citizen. When I put it on the wall, I look on the ground, and there's a cell phone, an old school flip phone. Pick up the flip phone, and it's unlocked. I go through it, and I discern, or I guess, the flip phone and the wallet are for the same dude. So I'm like, fine. I start calling through the phone book on the phone. Do you know Bob, whatever his name was? Do you know Bob? No, don't know Bob. Hi, my name's Tony. You don't know me. I found this phone. I think it belongs to Bob. Could you please call me at blah, 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 blah. Hi, my name is Tony. Blah, blah, blah. I get to the fourth phone number, and phone number 2 calls me back. It's like, hi. She's like, I think you have my dad's phone. I'm like, great. How can I get this to your dad? She's like, well, we don't really know where he is. He only checks in about once every 4 months. Can I get it to you? She's like, no, I'm not comfortable with that, but my boyfriend is downtown. Let me call him. So basically, she gives the boyfriend my number. Boyfriend calls me. In the meantime, he's downtown. So I start walking across the bridge. The guy finally calls me, and he's interrogating me on the phone. What do you want? You want money? You don't have money, blah, blah. I said, I don't want anything. Just want to give you this wallet and this phone. Finally, he says, okay. I'm standing at the cross street of blank and blank across the street from the post office. I'm like, I cursed. You've got to be kidding me. All right, I'll meet you there. I walk down. He told me what he looked like. I walk right into the same gauntlet I had just been in 4 days before. But this time, I can't hold my breath, and I can't run away. So I walk into the gauntlet, and the guy's got 2 big friends on either side, shoulder to shoulder, because he thinks something's going to go down, I think. I walk up, and I'm holding them like this. And he's like, what do you want? I don't want anything. I just want to be a good guy. And the guy says, hey, everybody, here's the last good guy in Portland. And all of his friends came around me and patted me and hugged me as I handed the phone and got in my face. I'm not the most important character in my own spiritual story. I think at that moment, God knew the only people I was going to listen to was a gauntlet of folks that live outdoors. That's who needed to bring the message. God made sure, and in that moment, God buried a bottle across the street from the post office. All over this world, there are bottles that are buried for you. From someone who's more concerned about your spiritual life than you are. It might be in a friendship with your professor. It might happen in chapel. It might happen when you go home, see your youth pastor. It might happen one day just walking out in nature. But there are bottles buried all over the place. Oh, that's it. But one more thing. In walking distance and biking distance from this school, there are kids all over the city who are lonely. Kids that come from trauma, they don't know what to do. Kids that feel dumb. Kids that don't believe there's anybody out there who cares about them. There's kids who don't know if they have a future and doubt whether they do. And they wonder if anyone's ever going to come help. Thank you.